The walls in my house are too damn thin. The houses in my neighborhood aren't packed so close together that I can hear normal talking, but the houses are just close enough that if I'm laying in bed and the neighbor's television has its volume up too high, I can hear the muffled sounds of their movies right next to my head. Not only that, but people would often drive down the road at all hours of the night. The sound of them zooming by my house mixed in with the television noise and the drone of bugs and crickets always kept me awake. Eventually, sleep would take me when the exhaustion was too much, but even after waking up, I never felt well rested. A few nights ago, I had been kept awake by the sound of what seemed to be an action movie that my neighbor was watching. The intermittent fake gunshot sounds kept jolting me from my sleep and back into consciousness just as I was so close to resting. I checked my phone after one of these awakenings and looked at the clock. It was almost 3 in the morning. I sighed and set down my phone knowing that I'd have to go to work unusually tired. I stood up from my bed and started pacing around the room waiting for the television to turn off. As I was walking in circles, I caught a glimpse of something through my window. There was a large street light on the left corner of my lawn. Growing at the base was a large shrub with white flowers that looked like the bell of a trumpet. Deep in the bush, I could see something moving. Very slowly, the thing obscured by the flowers shuffled them slightly like it was breathing. With the light bearing down directly on top of it, I could make out what seemed to be pale skin that looked old and decayed. I audibly gasped when I caught a glimpse of one of its eyes. It darted around quickly before looking at me. It was so human yet animalistic at the same time. Its eyelids went in the wrong direction as it blinked. It darted from the bushes and ran towards the forest behind the house in front of mine. I couldn't make out any more of it besides the fact that it ran on all fours with incredible speed that no human could achieve. I didn't sleep that night, and I haven't for days. Every night since then, when I look out the window, I see that creature in different areas, but it's always watching me. My mind wanders for moments, and I'll forget the peril I'm in until I can feel it growing closer. It is waiting to catch me off guard. It'll never let me go as I've seen it. I can hear its deep whispers through my walls as it tries to convince me that struggling is hopeless, but I won't go down without at least fighting. I paced around the house all day listening to music to keep myself awake. Even my dog looked worried about me. I'd let him out and lock myself in my room until he wanted back in, but I had to let him in quickly because it had started to rain. The rain drowned out the background noise, but made me even more nervous. When the constant drumming sound wasn't present, I could hear the creature if it approached, but now I'd have to keep constant watch. As the sun started to set, I let my dog out one last time before locking myself in my room again. I could see the creature poking its head over the roof of the house in front of mine, just waiting for me to fall asleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I closed them for longer. My body was failing my mind. I couldn't keep my thoughts on one thing either. As I stared into the thing's eyes, I could feel my thoughts wandering to nonsensical sentences and images. Gusts of wind made the trees sway, but the creature stood unmoving. A large crack of lightning lit up the sky for just a second before my dog started barking. I had left him outside with that thing. I turned around to grab my dog for just a second before remembering that I had to keep watching. As I looked back to my neighbor's roof, my heart sank. It wasn't there anymore. I looked around quickly, but couldn't see it anywhere. I heard a loud yelp from the backyard and ran as fast as I could to my hall and down the stairs without thinking about the danger. At the glass door leading outside was my soaking wet dog looking sadly at me as I left it out in the rain for so long. As he was walking in, I saw quick movement in the corner of my backyard. The creature was coming straight for me. Just as it neared the porch light, I slammed the door and closed the curtains. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door with my dog inside and finally let sleep take me in the bathtub. I woke up after what seemed like no time as soon as my mind caught up to my body. I sat up in the tub and went to the door. I listened for the sound of anything but heard nothing over the drops of rain pouring onto the roof. I opened the door and turned the lock in case I needed to make a quick retreat. The first thing I noticed was the back door was wide open. I stepped out, and just as I did, my dog's body shut the door behind it. I was locked out of my only safe place. The cold breeze from outside blew in. I looked around me, and there was nothing in the room. I walked to the entrance of my living room and saw something move in the corner of my eye. In the darkest corner, I could see its shape staring at me from the shadow. I pointed at it and looked down at my dog, which refused to acknowledge its presence. Its raspy breaths felt like they were right next to my ears. I stumbled backwards, my heart was racing in my chest. It was hunched over and its spine was protruding from its skin. The skin was pulled so tight on its bones that it looked as if they would tear from the slightest movement. Its teeth were like that of an anglerfish and its eyes were sunken and gray like the rest of its body. It lunged towards me, but just as it clawed my face, it vanished. I stayed in a ball on the floor for a few moments before my dog started licking my face and whining. It was all in my head. I couldn't believe it. I started laughing uncontrollably as the sleepless nights were all from my own delusions. Now I don't have to worry because it was all okay. I walked to my room and fell into my bed, finally able to rest. I fell asleep with the weight finally off my shoulder and fell into a dream sleep. Drowning. The creature was above me, holding me underwater, drowning me the entire night. Time seemed to pass like I was awake. It's been like this excruciating torture every night since the creature left my waking world. Now it'll never leave me alone. It's in my dreams. This is worse than any death it could have brought upon me. I can't go living every single night for the rest of my life in this world of drowning and pain and suffocation. I can't do this anymore.